Rob Veno of Rob Veno Sports and Sports Memo here with a recap of the NFL Championship games this afternoon and this evening, and a little look ahead toward what I feel may be a couple of keys to Super Bowl 50. We now know the participants, Denver and Carolina. On the subject, Carolina opens here a 4-point favorite, 45-year total. Mostly fours across the board right now in the major shops. You see a couple of 4.5s out there, big offshore places, 5 dimes and Heritage carrying 4.5 right now. A little money on the Carolina Panthers, total of 45. Hasn't sat still either. There are some spots here now going to 45.5. Certainly a lot of the early reaction based on the late game, the Carolina performance against Arizona, the 49-15 drubbing that they put on the Cardinals. We'll see how this goes over the course of this week and next week. This week, after the first 48 hours, may wind up being a little bit of a dead period, and then the second week, maybe from midweek to the kickoff, we'll see a little bit of action. But the 2-week period in between, certainly quite a long time span. And in all honesty, most handicappers take their shot at handicapping the prop bets during that time. So the game will be an afterthought for a little bit, and then it'll come back, and we'll see maybe some movement. But the first 48 hours here probably filled with money on one side or the other and on the total. So keep an eye on it. If you like it early, go ahead and get it. Power ratings made this game Carolina -3.5 on the neutral site, Levi Stadium, home of the San Francisco 49ers. Grass surface here. So exactly what these two teams are used to playing on all season long, both on the grass. Little upgrade in the Carolina power rating from today. No upgrade with Denver. They remain the same. Little downgrade in New England. But certainly the power ratings on the neutral with the upgrade to Carolina, with the status quo for Denver, make this game Super Bowl 50, Carolina -3.5. It is usually the case early on that you will see a huge reaction to what people saw last. So no surprise that Carolina is drawing money here. The sharp money usually keeps it in check. We'll see if this thing climbs to 5 by tomorrow or Tuesday, and we'll see where the total goes. A couple of thoughts, though, on these games here, New England and Denver. And I'll tell you, if we look ahead to Super Bowl 50, I think that the play calling of Gary Kubiak is going to have to change. One of the biggest keys, I think, in Super Bowl 50 will be the difference in play calling between the Carolina Panthers' Mike Shula and Denver Broncos' Gary Kubiak. Kubiak's insistence on running on first down and putting Peyton Manning and that offense in such terrible down and distance situations, always staring at 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, being predictable and then throwing on 2nd down. So the defense, we saw New England today blitz a few times on 2nd down, just knowing the pattern of play calling that was going to happen with Denver. Kubiak really never put his team in a favorable situation with his play calls. His insistence to stick to the run, I don't think that sticking to the run is such a bad thing, but when your definition of sticking to the running game means I'm going to run it 80 to 85% on every first down play, that's a little excessive. That's very predictable. New England had no trouble shutting the Denver offense down today, basically because of that. Denver just never had good down and distance. It makes Manning look bad. It makes the offense look bad. It puts extra pressure on the offensive line to protect Peyton Manning in long distance situations. And against Carolina, inevitably it could end up getting Peyton Manning hurt by that pass rush of the Carolina Panthers if, in fact, Gary Kubiak doesn't change his ways for the Super Bowl. We see the pressure now the past 2 weeks against Seattle and against Arizona, and especially the early game pressure that the Carolina Panthers can put on the opposing offense. And Denver's offensive line has not been a brick wall by any means all season long. So look for the play calling here. There's 2 weeks in between now and kickoff time. Obviously, a game plan will be instituted this week by the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. Let's see if Gary Kubiak shakes it up a little bit and runs some play action passes on first down. A couple times very, very successful on first down play action, and it eases the burden on Peyton Manning. But boy, oh boy, it's been noticeable all season long. It was noticeable against Pittsburgh. I've been on top of this all season long. The play calling here is just very, very stubborn, hard-headed, and it really magnifies the fact that Gary Kubiak's intentions here are to ride his defense to a Super Bowl. You take a look at where he's been in the past at Houston, where David Carr got sacked 73 times one year. In Baltimore, where they had a great defense to cover up the warts of the offense, his play calling. I think Gary Kubiak is a play caller extremely overrated. I think most Denver fans at this point in time would love to have Adam Gase back as offensive coordinator, calling the plays, mixing it up a little bit, run out of the shotgun, throw from under center, throw out of the shotgun, run from under center, just mix it up, first down, second down, change it up a little bit. Gary Kubiak's going to have to do that, because if Denver gets into predictable situations against the Carolina Panthers, it could be lights out early. That's been the MO of the Carolina Panthers, the early knockout punch, the bully style of play, and then play from ahead, and so far ahead that teams cannot catch up. Mike Shula, on the other hand, for the Carolina Panthers, I think has done just a phenomenal and really an unheralded job of calling plays all season long. When you look at the weapons that they had to start the year, the weapons that they have to close the year, all of a sudden look extremely dangerous. 6-7 weeks ago, you wouldn't consider the receiving trio of Jericho Cotchery, Ted Ginn Jr., and Greg Olsen as dynamic, but you take those three, you throw in Philly Brown from Ohio State, you throw in Devin Funchess of Michigan, and all of a sudden, these five receivers have really begun to become an explosive unit, and it's really due to the play calling of Mike Shula. He does not put Cam Newton in terrible down and distance situations. He does mix up the play calling quite a bit. They do push the ball downfield on first downs. They do play action. Obviously Denver cannot read option. Carolina can, because they have the running quarterback, but Carolina will throw in a little read option. We saw it today. Very, very good play calling, grade A play calling out of Mike Shula, especially late this season. So that's a key matchup here in Super Bowl 50. Look for the play calling of Mike Shula versus that of Gary Kubiak as we sit right here Sunday night after the conclusion of the two championship games. You would have to give a huge, significant advantage to Mike Shula in that category. You take a look at the defensive line play here today, the front seven play for both of these teams that are entering the Super Bowl. Wow. Denver actually hit Tom Brady 20 times today. The 20 times that Tom Brady was hit in that contest was the most any NFL quarterback has been hit all season long. Ferocious pass rush by Denver. They didn't always get Brady to the ground, and in that final touchdown drive, I think it did cost them a little bit because they surrounded him. They had a hold of him on plenty of those plays on that final drive, or the drive to get the game to 20-18, and they couldn't get him to the ground. So the sack number, while it was nice, the hit total, while it was nice, you'd like to get the QB to the ground and force second and 16s, longer distances than allowing the quarterback to get the ball away cleanly and walk back up to the line, second and 10, third and 10. Obviously, Brady completed a couple of fourth down passes in order to get New England into the end zone. But Denver's defensive line, be that as it may, the sack total not that high. They did a tremendous job all season long. All game long. Credit to Von Miller. Credit to the middle of that defensive line. Derek Wolf especially played well. A lot of guys, Malik Jackson, number 97 in the middle. The defensive tackles were great today. Vance Walker came in and played well. DeMarcus Ware off the edge. The coverage was superb today against a very, very good group of wide receivers. We know that the routes New England runs are somewhat limited. They do a lot of crossing patterns, but they get people caught up in the trash, so to speak, so much that somebody's always running open, and Tom Brady always spots the open receiver. But the combination of the pressure put on by the Denver front and the coverage by the corners, great game today from Chris Harris, who entered with a bad shoulder. Great game by Aqib Talib. Both safeties for Denver ended up exiting the game in the fourth quarter, and that did lead to the long completion to Rob Gronkowski at the end of the game. Remember, Denver was playing with two backup safeties at the time. However, the injury reports on Darian Stewart, the free safety who hurt his MCL, and TJ Ward, the strong safety who hurt his ankle, come out now as probable for Super Bowl 50. Figure both of these guys are going to play. Stewart seems to be more in the no doubt category that he is going to play. I think TJ Ward is very close to no doubt he's going to play as well. So I expect both of them to be back on the field. And the 2-week period to get healthy certainly helps both of those Broncos safeties. For Carolina, very quickly here, injury update on Thomas Davis, their star outside linebacker, Pro Bowl caliber linebacker. Thomas Davis broke his arm in the game against Arizona, and right now listed as 50-50 to play in the Super Bowl. That would be a significant loss for the Carolina Panthers. A.J. Klein did come in and take his place, and A.J. Klein has had a lot of playing time this season. However, not Thomas Davis, and the duo of Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis is a pair that Carolina's defense thrives off of. So look for the Thomas Davis injury over the course of the next couple of weeks. He's going to need doctor's clearance in order to play in the Super Bowl, and right now his availability is listed at 50-50. So when we look at these defensive lines and the pressure that both of these groups put on the opposing quarterbacks, Carolina came out of the chute roaring just like they did against Seattle, had Carson Palmer very jittery from the get-go, got that big lead and really never looked back. Denver's defensive line, as I just described, did a great job against Brady. The difference here could be in the offensive lines. Like I said, Denver's has not been a brick wall, and Carolina's has been much more effective this year. So for Denver, getting the pressure as frequently as Carolina may be able to in the Super Bowl certainly advantage Carolina, and also the mobility of the quarterbacks here. Cam Newton's size, speed, ability to scramble and gain yards, certainly a little tougher to get to the ground than Peyton Manning, who's a stationary pocket passer. So look for Carolina to have a little bit of an edge there. However, there were very long periods of time, both in the Seattle game and in the Arizona game here tonight, where the Carolina pressure was non-existent, and Denver's pressure seemed to be there for the entire 60 minutes of the contest. So Carolina's given away some second half leads, and perhaps, if you can withstand the early storm, you can certainly move the ball offensively. But once again, couple of keys, like I say, to this game. Watch the play calling between Shula and Kubiak. Advantage Shula right now. Watch the play of the defensive lines against the offensive lines. Once again, advantage Carolina right now. I think those two factors are the exact reason why Carolina sits as a 4.5 point favorite. Cam Newton has not seen much pressure. However, if you just think back 2 weeks ago, Seattle blanked the Carolina Panthers in the second half. Once they woke up, Seattle did a tremendous job defensively. Cam Newton did not look like the quarterback he looked like in the first half. In fact, there were a lot of situations where he looked a little bit confused. They had to piecemeal together a couple of drives to churn the clock and run that game out so that Seattle couldn't quite catch up. But in that game, total yardage in that contest was Seattle 403 yards, Carolina only 295. So it is important not to just get carried away with what you saw last. And remember that 2 weeks ago, there was a second half where Carolina was defeated 24-0 by a defense right in the category of the Denver Broncos. So very, very important to remember that. I think right now, odds makers have it right. Like I say, I made it 3.5 with my power ratings. Game sits at 4, maybe some 4.5. The reaction of people certainly going to get that line to bounce up a little bit as it has. But overall, I think we'll get to see a pretty good Super Bowl here. It will be interesting. We're going to go into a lot of detailed depth during the week. Catch these segments during this week and next week. We'll go over a lot of stuff here, statistical, fundamental, situational. We'll get into the first half, second half. Carolina today ran their first half record to 14-4 against the spread. Like I said earlier, they have been the proverbial early knockout bully. 14-4 now against the spread. Very easy cover today against Arizona, laying only 2.5 and sitting up 17-0 with about 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Just about cashable at that point. So we'll get into first half, second half stuff. We'll get into a lot of prop bets, obviously, as far as recommendations, client recommendations. I'm going to be releasing a Super Bowl prop package, and we'll also be releasing a play on the game. So stay tuned. We'll give you as much information as we can without going ahead and letting you know exactly who we're playing here, because we do charge price for those picks. But we're going to cover it all here from top to bottom from a betting perspective. So be sure to join us for the remainder of the week here. Right now, we have what we have, a Denver-Carolina Super Bowl. I think it'll be a good one. Look forward to this week and going through the game. We'll pick it apart limb by limb, and hopefully all you listening out there will be able to get some applicable information to your handicap as well that'll help you to winning tickets. Congratulations to those today who listened to the audios this morning and wound up on the Carolina Panthers first half. Easy ticket to cash today. So stay tuned. We'll have a lot of good stuff all week long. This is Rob Veno of Rob Veno Sports and Sports Memo saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow.